As of April 21, 2025, following the death of Pope Francis, speculation has intensified regarding potential successors from the College of Cardinals. Here are profiles of 20 prominent cardinals, encompassing both black and white candidates, along with their countries, biographies, and positions on key issues such as LGBTQ rights, abortion, and climate change. 1. Cardinal Pietro Parolin. Country, Italy. Biography. Cardinal Parolin is the Vatican's Secretary of State and a seasoned diplomat, having previously served as the Vatican's nuncio to Venezuela. LGBTQ rights. Supports the Church's traditional views on marriage, but advocates for respect and dignity toward LGBTQ individuals. Abortion. Strongly opposes abortion, following church teachings. Climate change. Supports Pope Francis's teachings in Laudato Si on environmental responsibility and sustainable development. 2. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. Country, Philippines. Biography. Archbishop of Manila and former president of Caritas Internationalis, known for his pastoral approach and global outreach. LGBTQ rights. Advocates for a welcoming church that provides pastoral care to LGBTQ individuals. Abortion. Opposes abortion, emphasizing the dignity of life. Climate change. Strong supporter of environmental initiatives, particularly in the context of poverty and social justice. 3. Cardinal Robert Serra. Country, Guinea. Biography. Former prefect of the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments, known for his conservative views. LGBTQ rights. Strongly opposes same-sex marriage and advocates for traditional family structures. Abortion. Opposes abortion and supports the Church's pro-life stance. Climate change. Believes in responsible environmental stewardship, but has been less vocal than other cardinals on climate change. 4. Cardinal Wilton Gregory. Country, United States. Biography. Archbishop of Washington, D.C., and the first African American cardinal in the history of the Church. LGBTQ rights. Advocates for pastoral care for LGBTQ individuals, focusing on inclusion and dignity. Abortion. Opposes abortion, in line with the Church's teachings on the sanctity of life. Climate change. Supports Pope Francis, emphasis on climate action and sustainable development. 5. Cardinal Jean-Marc Avelin. Country, France. Biography. Archbishop of Marseille, with a focus on dialogue and openness in the Church. LGBTQ rights. Supports the Church's traditional teachings, but advocates for respect and care for LGBTQ people. Abortion. Opposes abortion, supporting the Church's position on the sanctity of life. Climate change. Advocates for sustainable development and is committed to environmental justice. 6. Cardinal Matteo Zuppi. Country, Italy. Biography. Archbishop of Bologna and President of the Italian Bishops' Conference, known for his focus on reconciliation and peace building. LGBTQ rights. Advocates for pastoral care and inclusion of LGBTQ individuals within the Church. Abortion. Opposes abortion, upholding the Church's pro-life teachings. Climate change. Strong supporter of efforts to combat climate change, emphasizing Pope Francis' environmental agenda. 7. Cardinal Christoph Schönborn. Country, Austria. Biography. Archbishop of Vienna, a theologian, and one of the leading intellectuals in the Church. LGBTQ rights. Maintains the Church's traditional stance on marriage, but emphasizes pastoral care for LGBTQ individuals. Abortion. Firmly opposed to abortion, consistent with the Church's pro-life position. Climate change. supporter of environmental care and a proponent of sustainable solutions to global challenges. 8. Cardinal Mark Weller, country, Canada, biography, former prefect of the Congregation for Bishops and current member of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, LGBTQ rights, upholds the Church's traditional teaching on marriage and sexuality, abortion, opposes abortion, advocating for life from conception, climate change, advocates for care of creation, but has been less vocal than other cardinals on climate change. 9. Cardinal Robert Prevost, country, United States, biography, prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops, with a strong focus on church administration and oversight of the global episcopacy, LGBTQ rights, supports the Church's teachings on marriage, but also emphasizes compassion and care for LGBTQ individuals. Abortion, strongly opposes abortion, in alignment with the Church's stance. Climate change, has voiced support for environmental action, in accordance with the Church's teaching. 10. Cardinal Reinhard Marx, country, Germany, biography, Archbishop of Munich and Freising, and former head of the German Bishops' Conference, a proponent of social justice, LGBTQ rights, advocates for greater pastoral care and understanding for LGBTQ individuals. Abortion, strongly opposes abortion, advocating for the dignity of every human life. Climate change, supports Pope Francis' call for action on climate change, particularly in addressing the challenges faced by the most vulnerable. 11. Cardinal Joseph Tobin, country, United States, biography, Archbishop of Newark, known for his advocacy for immigrant rights and social justice, LGBTQ rights, advocates for inclusion of LGBTQ individuals in the Church, calling for compassionate dialogue. Abortion, opposes abortion, in keeping with Church teachings on life. Climate change, advocates for strong action on climate change, especially from a social justice perspective. 12. Cardinal Angelo de Donatus, country, Italy, biography, Vicar General of Rome, a close collaborator with Pope Francis, LGBTQ rights, supports the Church's teachings, but advocates for a more welcoming and understanding pastoral approach. Abortion, opposes abortion, affirming the sanctity of life. Climate change, strong supporter of Pope Francis' environmental efforts, advocating for global action on climate change. 13. Cardinal Luis Antonio Joaquim Tagle, country, Philippines, biography, former president of Caritas Internationalis, and Archbishop of Manila, LGBTQ rights, advocates for the Church's traditional teachings, but calls for compassion and care for LGBTQ individuals. Abortion, opposes abortion, consistent with the Church's stance. Climate change, strong advocate for climate action and the protection of vulnerable communities. 14. Cardinal Jean-Pierre Ricard, country, France, biography, Archbishop of Bordeaux and former President of the French Bishops' Conference, LGBTQ rights, supports the Church's traditional views on marriage, but emphasizes the need for pastoral care for LGBTQ individuals. Abortion, opposes abortion, upholding the sanctity of life. Climate change, advocates for action on climate change, particularly from a humanitarian perspective. 15. Cardinal Luis Laudario Ferrer, country, Spain, biography, prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, an expert in moral theology, LGBTQ rights, upholds the Church's traditional teachings on marriage and sexuality. Abortion, firmly opposed to abortion, following Church doctrine. Climate change, supports Initiatives for environmental stewardship in line with church teaching. 16. Cardinal George Pell, Country, Australia. Biography. Former prefect of the Secretariat for the Economy, known for his conservative views and financial expertise. LGBTQ rights. Opposes same-sex marriage and affirms the traditional understanding of marriage. Abortion. Opposes abortion, upholding the Church's pro-life position. Climate change. Has expressed skepticism about some climate change activism but supports the Church's call for responsible environmental action. 17. Cardinal Gerhard Müller, Country, Germany. Biography. Former prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. LGBTQ rights. Strongly opposes same-sex marriage and advocates for traditional Christian family values. Abortion. Opposes abortion, adhering to church teachings. Climate change. Supportive of environmental responsibility but emphasizes human dignity over environmental ideologies. 18. Cardinal Thomas Collins, Country, Canada. Biography. Archbishop of Toronto, known for his pastoral outreach and social teachings. LGBTQ rights. Maintains the Church's traditional views, but supports compassionate pastoral care for LGBTQ individuals. Abortion. Opposes abortion, consistent with the Church's pro-life position. Climate change. Supports environmental efforts, particularly those addressing the impact on the poor. 19. Cardinal Mario Grech, Country, Malta. Biography. Secretary General of the Synod of Bishops, known for his role in synodal governance and promoting ecclesial dialogue. LGBTQ rights. Advocates for the Church's traditional views on sexuality, but promotes compassionate pastoral engagement. Abortion. Opposes abortion, emphasizing the right to life from conception. Climate change. Supports Pope Francis' environmental agenda and calls for action on climate change. 20. Cardinal Angelo Scola, Country, Italy. Biography. Former Archbishop of Milan, a respected intellectual within the Church. LGBTQ rights. Holds the Church's traditional views on marriage and